Getting Vulnerable and Going Strong with Leslie Hill. Sponsored by Julie Shear and Midwest Film Factory.
Hello, and welcome to Getting Vulnerable and Going Strong. I am your host, Leslie Hill. I am the program director over at the Women's Entrepreneurial Opportunity Center. And today I am joined by Louise Jackson, who has years of experience event planning and raising funds, and we're going to walk through her new business and how she developed this and some of the things that she can help companies with. So Louise, what is your background?
Hi, Leslie. Thank you for inviting me today. My background is 25 years in the nonprofit arena with a strong focus in raising dollars for higher education.
Fun. And this is actually how I met Louise.
Yes.
Through nonprofits.
Through nonprofits over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even have my first child yet.
No, she didn't. But she looks the same today as if she hasn't had any children.
And I have met all of your children.
That's right. That's right.
At least two of the three.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, you have.
So
yes.
That's very fun.
Yes. So over the years, I have asked a lot of people for money face to face. I've spearheaded lots of different special events and written quite a few grants here and there.
Yes. So we need to pick her brain.
Yes. Yes, that would be fine.
So what is your new business exactly?
My business is called Elevation, and its focus is all about helping a development department, a development team, an individual CEO with elevating their development department so it is more accountable for the time being spent, and also they're raising more dollars and raising more awareness for their cause.
I love that you're in particularly helping did you say the CEOs or the presidents?
Yes, of leaders of nonprofits.
And I think it's something that's so hard. It can be harder than operating your own for-profit business.
Correct.
And often what happens is clients will come to me and they'll say, here's my idea, but I think I'm just going to do it nonprofit because I don't feel comfortable making money off of this. I just want to help people. And you're like, you can still help people without doing nonprofit.
Correct. Correct. And also, a leader of a nonprofit wears many, many hats. In many cases, you don't have those extra dollars, and so you step in as the leader in many, many different roles. And sometimes you need some mentoring in those areas.
Sure. And so many times, just like small businesses, we start a nonprofit. We're not skilled in IT and marketing and
that's right.
Program direction.
Right.
But all of a sudden now you have to do all of it.
You have to do all of it and raise the dollars to meet your monthly budget. Mm-hmm. And it can be very stressful, yes. And also, as a CEO in a nonprofit, you report to a board and then you are overlooking your staff. But you yourself can become a very lonely position trying to balance it all. Mm. And so my company can come in and help with that piece.
I prefer to be on the board and not report to the board.
Yes, because that means you have more than one boss. Yes. And that in itself can be a challenge.
Pleasing so many different people.
Right. Right. That can be very challenging.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that's right. One of my areas I've had years of experience is running an event, coming up with an event, an idea, how to do it. I currently teach event management at Ball State University. And, yes, you're a graduate. Yes, fashion merchandising.
That's
correct?
Right.
Yes. And so I'm teaching young people who are thinking they want to go into that profession what it takes to have an event. Mm-hmm. It's not just a fun idea.
Yes. And how much pre-work is done prior to the event.
Right, exactly. And how much follow-up work after the event.
Yes.
That's just as important, yeah.
Maybe even more.
In some cases, yes, what you follow up on, yes. So it's a lot of fun.
I see that you brought a little sheet.
I did.
What are we going to go through?
I kind of outlined if someone is thinking about an event for a nonprofit, 4 steps that I would encourage them to follow after they get this grand idea, or after a board member might come to them with a grand idea. The first step would be to define what the purpose of this event is for. Are we focusing on just fundraising? Do we want to make it more friend-raising and an overall awareness of a special program? Is this more of a stewardship event where you're going to be thanking those who have helped you? Or is this going to be an event where you're going to be presenting awards to those that may be involved? An event can be one of those reasons, or it can be a combination of all 4. But before you start that event, you need to define what it is you're doing. That's just very important.
I can see that. And even for small businesses, say you own a small boutique. Before you start the event, you'd have to think, am I trying to sell something new that just came in?
Right.
Am I trying to just get people in the door because it's a certain time of year?
Right.
What are some
you just want to educate the public on why you're even here, and knowing what your goal is, then you can start to build that event, because then you can define what are the outcomes I want from all this effort. Like you said, an event, there's a lot of effort goes into that event. And in fundraising, if the purpose of your event is to raise dollars, sometimes you have to stop and say, do we have a potential donor we could go out and ask for this gift, and we could do that in an hour? Versus all the hours that go into pulling an event together, doing the event, and all the follow-up from the event.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Sometimes an organization, if they're thinking about doing a big event, need to sit down and say, do we have the manpower and the time to put in to this event, versus could we just go target one donor and make an ask for the amount that we need? So all of those pieces are important in making your decision on the purpose of an event. Once you know why you're going to hold this event, you've defined the purpose, then the next thing to talk about is, well, what's going to happen at this event? Is this event going to be we're going to bring in pure entertainment? Are we going to do a live auction? Are we going to bring in an advocate for our cause as a speaker? Do we want to highlight those that we are serving, whether it be students or maybe it's a nonprofit that helps individuals with specific things? And then the other thing, do you want to showcase your programs? I mean, is that your focus? And or is it just going to be a pure entertainment event? And so once you start putting those pieces in place, it starts to form that model for that event. And it eliminates people coming in saying, oh, let's add this to it, or let's do this at the last minute. And you're like, you really need to, like in a business, for profit, you have a business plan. For an event, you need an event plan to keep you on target for everybody who's involved.
That makes complete sense to me.
And you can take that document the day after the event and sit down and evaluate your event. Did we meet all our objectives? What worked? What didn't work? How much time did this event take for the return of what we made on it, or what our goal was? And that becomes a really important document. When people talk about doing an event, they can get so caught up in the glitzy part of the event and the color of the napkins and those little details. When I'm doing an event, I'm looking at the whole big picture. How are we going to be effective? What are the outcomes? Did we meet those outcomes? Was this worth our time after we look at everything that has gone into it?
And how many people were there, whether they're volunteers or paid or...
Did we get the right people there?
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can fill your 200 seats, but there's a whole strategy in event planning of, well, who's in that seat? Do we have the right people in those seats? So that's a big piece of your event planning strategy.
So then how do you go about that when you start thinking of who, the invite list? Where do you find them if you don't know them?
Well, you go back to, what is my purpose? Am I here to raise money? Then you want people in there who have deep pockets. If you're there for an event to raise awareness, then you want your market to be those that are going to benefit from this program. And so, again, you're analyzing the purpose, the goal, and your outcomes.
Okay.
Now, one thing I recommend, my third step with any event you do, and it's very important to remember, and I teach this in my class, it doesn't matter if you do an event for 20 people or 2,000 people. You have to do all these steps in an event planning. And so I highly recommend for event planners to get a really good timeline. And it may be 15 months out, but you can find them online, you can create your own, you can take one and then add to it, but it includes every step of the way within a time frame of what you need to be doing for that event so that nothing drops through the cracks.
Yeah, nice.
And when you are ready, that moment for that event to start, you have crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's, because that event timeline has to be very detailed. Make sure all the maintenance is ready to go. I mean, everybody, lighting, everybody that is going to be part of this event is on that event timeline. If you need any legal contracts, if you need a security guard, any of those things that have to be at this event, you've got it right there. So, and what you're doing is you're eliminating any whoops. Halfway through the event, and whoops, the security guard didn't show up. Or,
yeah.
I mean, you've just got to have all of that.
Maybe the lights, like you said, aren't working on one side of the stage.
Right.
So then,
you want to make sure that was checked an hour before the event, just so everything, you want it to run smoothly. 20 people or 2,000 people, you still have to make sure the internet works, the microphones work, that there's a bottle of water there for your speaker. Recently, I consulted with a gentleman who put on an event, and the speaker that he brought in was supposed to be so great on the topic. And the speaker was great on the topic, but he had no skill in public speaking. And it didn't go over real well. So one thing I say to people is, well, if you're going to bring a speaker in, take time to listen to them in some way how they present.
Oh, yeah. They could send you a recording
or
something.
Just take time so that you kind of learn their style and presentation. Instead of that surprise when they get up on stage and you're in the back going, oh my, oh. They might be really, really knowledgeable in their topic, but they can't get it across.
Yeah.
And that's an event planner. That's part of your job, is to make sure.
You kind of vet that, I guess, out front.
Yes. Yeah. Because you don't want that whoops.
Yeah.
Whether you have 20 people or 2,000.
You're probably going to touch on this at some point in time, so just tell me
Sure.
to go back on task. But how do you manage a budget within all of that?
Oh, well, that
is a whole other topic.
Well, that could be. But the whole event, the whole purpose of your event, defining what your event's going to be, the budget plays a big role in that. You can't have an event without some type of a budget. to know what your direction is going to be. Are we serving cookies and punch? Are we catering steak and cheesecake? And that all plays into what kind of a budget do you have to begin with? And you have to stay within that budget. I mean, that's very important for the event planner. They have to look at not only the food and the entertainment, but are there contracts for a security guard, for any legality, liability for that event? All of those factors, when I teach my class, we touch on all of those things that are part of an event. Again, whether it's 20 people, 2,000, or 20,000. You have to be aware of all of that.
I love looking at the analysis of the night, mostly because typically if you love throwing events, you're so excited to have all these friends there and entertain, and then you think, oh, this was such a success, we had this many people. But now, how many people signed up for your services or bought your package or your product? Right.
It's great to have the room full, but as the event manager, you're going back to the whole purpose. What was the purpose of this? Yes, we filled every seat, but nobody donated. Probably not a great result then at the end. You bring them in for entertainment. We're bringing them here to entertain them. Did they like your...
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell that one pretty quickly, whether that's going to fly or not. But yes, very, very important. Yep.
And then do you touch on the marketing beforehand or the selling of the seats? How does that go?
That could be a whole nother discussion here.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I like to hit on the hard side.
Yes. Yes, you have to set up your whole marketing plan, and that's based, your budget comes into that, the cost to the guest, if there's going to be a cost. All of those things tie in to make it a successful event. And they're all very important pieces of the event. You can have the greatest event in the world, but if you don't market it and get people there, it's really not a great event.
So if we were to look at it in percentages wise, what would you feel good about, even if you're just a small gathering or a large gathering? Is it like, okay, we spent all that came in, maybe we spent 30% of what we made. Is that like good, or what's a good?
Well, that's a very individual question for every different organization based on why they're doing the event. Is this a first-time event? Well, then you really have no numbers to compare.
Oh,
yes. Is this a repetitive event? Then you're going to look at the last 5 years. How have we done on this event? Where did we fall? Is one of the outcomes of your event to increase participation, not only bodies and seats, but dollars when they walk out? Then you look at all of that.
Okay.
But all of those things go into that day after analysis of an event. And which is very, very important, because if you decide to go do that event again, you want to base it off your analysis, your return of investment. One of the big things I look for in any event I go to, but I know I'm kind of picky because I like to analyze them, but I look for the wow factor. Again, I'm going to go back. Doesn't matter if it's 20 people, 2,000, 20,000. I look for the thing that happened at that event that I walked away with in my mind, that knocked me off my seat as an attendee, that I say, whoo, I didn't see that coming. Yeah. That was really good. It could be the food. It could be the entertainment. It could be the message. It could be the decorations. I mean, the decorations could wow you. But when someone leaves an event, as an event planner, you are hoping they are going, wow, I want to come to this again. Because if they're not, then to me, you've lost them. Yeah. And so when I teach event management, I really stress that wow factor. And when we analyze events in the class, I will say, what was the wow for you in this event? What gave you goosebumps? when you were sitting there? Or was this event just like every other event you've been to? And, the food plays a big role in that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people always remember the food.
I know, it's so funny.
Always remember the food. So how can you surprise them a little bit? What can you do to a chicken breast that makes 2,000 people leave an event go, wow, that was really good.
Chicken.
So event management is a lot of fun, but there's a lot involved in it to be successful. And
so when you talked about follow-up, how much money do you think you get, maybe percentage or something? How do you view that as successful in your follow-up?
Well, if your event's purpose is to raise dollars, then in a nonprofit, you kind of get your marching orders from your board or your CEO who says, we've looked at our budget and we have to bring in $100,000 for this event. We need to bring in $100,000 of unrestricted money that can be used for programming, or maybe you need a new roof, whatever the board decides. And from there, you're working off of that amount. Now, when they say we need $100,000 for programming, that's net.
Oh, yeah.
That is net. So what you're saying is then you really need to bring in $125,000 because you've got to cover the expenses of that event.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you bring in $100,000 and then you're going to subtract.
Yeah.
And so you want to know what is it that this organization needs as far as money, if that's the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. So follow-up can be, is it phone calls and emails or a note? Or
however you choose to do it. Your follow-up could be your wow.
Oh, yeah.
Your follow-up thank you. Maybe you send a little gift as a thank you. You can think outside the box on that. But your follow-up can be a wow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But that's the... in event management, you're using all different areas of your brain. I mean, you're using your creativity, you're using your business sense, you're using your marketing, communications. The night of the event, if you're the event planner, you are on.
Yes.
You are on in every way. You're not there having fun eating that chicken breast.
That better be delicious.
In fact, you might not get to eat a chicken breast, or if you do, it's late that night and it's cold.
Yeah.
But
That's so true.
Yes.
When you said look at the guest list or build that guest list based off of your objective, how do you propose going and getting in contact with these people if you don't already have a connection? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it...
In the development world, face-to-face is still the best. Making an appointment, going and talking to that person, finding out their interests, and then starting that relationship.
Okay.
And
so you just got to suck it up.
You got to get out there, and it's a lot of networking. Requires a lot of people skills. It requires in development being able to take rejection, because you're going to get a lot of rejection. You just are. I mean, people are not interested in your cause, and that's okay. But you have to be able to take that rejection and keep going.
Well, thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoy, you picked a topic I love to talk about.
And it's one that everyone can utilize. I love your kind of making goals for everything. So
yeah,
thank you very much.
It helps drive the success of an event.
If you would like to contact Louise Jackson, give me a call at the NIC. You can email me as well, and I will connect you. So thank you so much for watching, and thanks again.
Thanks, Leslie. Bye.